Okay, we're good. Well, hey everybody, my name is Corey Miller, founder of iThemes, and I've got my good friend Rebecca Gill of Web Savvy Marketing on the webinar today to share her experience and expertise running an awesome WordPress agency up in Michigan. Now, she does some work for some great clients, all the way from Michigan State to small business websites. In fact, we actually shared a freelance client together that she just redid his website, and it's an amazing site. But Rebecca, as you remember, in December shared 4 hour-long webinars talking about SEO, WordPress SEO in particular, how to get your head around what WordPress SEO is and how to take your stuff to the next level. And she's got a course that I'll be sharing now in the chat room, so you can check that out too at some point. But today she's going to be talking about how to create an exceptional customer journey with your website. And I know I'll be taking notes. We engage her as an SEO consultant for iThemes, and so she is an expert at this, and we believe that so much that she's helping our team learn and grow and all these things that she talks about. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Rebecca and say thank you so much for being on the webinar today.
Thank you, Corey. Welcome, everyone. And as Corey said, I have been under the weather with a virus, so I will do my best to not cough through this entire presentation, and I will apologize in advance if I do. Okay, let's get going. Each and every day, we take journeys. We embark on customer journeys in both the physical and the digital world. Years ago, we just had to worry about physical journeys with storefronts and things that you could explore and touch and feel along the way. Today, we live in a multimedia world of websites and social media and chat sessions and newsletters, emails, and call centers. These digital journeys have changed the way that we interact with companies and the way that we view their products. Today I want to talk about one part of that digital journey. I want to talk about the process of website design and how the things that you can do in that process can create a negative or positive experience on your visitor, and how you can influence their journey as they progress into your website and walk through it throughout your various pages and posts. Recently, my son and I decided that we were going to stop at a new grocery store. And I use this example because I think it's a really good representation of a physical journey and how that can translate into the digital world. So my son and I were on our way home from his orthodontist appointment, and I was passing by a Kroger. And in our area here in Michigan, we have Kroger's and we have Meijer's. Those are the two major grocery stores. I have always shopped at Meijer, and I've rarely ever gone to a Kroger. But I have been told by my friends and families that the new Kroger on my way home from the orthodontist appointment had a facelift, and that I really should go check it out. And the example image that you see in the slide is actually of a Kroger. So I thought I would go in, and I thought I would try it out. And I told my son what we were doing, and we went into the grocery store, and guess what happened? I was a complete ball of stress the entire time I was there. And I'm to the point that my son, who is 10 years old, was laughing at me, because I had my shopping list, I had things I had to get, and I was really struggling to find the things I needed within the store. There were signs everywhere, both on the aisles and on the ceilings, and they tried to really make sure that my journey through their store was a positive one, and that I could find what I wanted to. But guess what? My journey wasn't positive. I was extremely frustrated, and I struggled the entire time that I was there. So as I was walking in through the store and I was coming out of it, I was thinking about the process that we went through and what was creating my positive or negative impressions as I ventured through this physical store. There was bread here and there and everywhere. I mean, in like 5 different places, which I found really strange. The dairy section, so milk and cottage cheese and that kind of thing, was across the whole back of the store, and it went on forever. I didn't really know if I was ever going to find the cream cheese and the sour cream that was on my shopping list that I had to get for a recipe. I needed one thing from the personal products section, and it was like dental mouthwash, the little red Axe cinnamon solution that you put in your mouth after you brush your teeth. I searched that store for it. I looked all over, everywhere I could find. They had the personal products right in the middle of the grocery store, which I found bizarre, and food all around it. And I looked all there. And then I saw that they also had some over by the pharmacy, and I looked there. I left the store never being able to find the mouthwash. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find the toothpaste. And I was thinking as I was walking through the store about the aggravation that I had and how it made me feel as a consumer and as a customer. And without realizing it, I had already made up my mind that I wasn't coming back. I was not going to go to that Kroger anymore. In fact, I was going to go right back to the Meijer that I've always gone to, where I could easily find the things I wanted to find and where the pharmacists know me by name and by sight. But the point of this story is it really shows you how a customer journey, both in the physical and the digital world, can really influence how your potential customers will interact with you and how you will leave on them a very, very lasting, long impression. The same journey that I took in that physical world could have taken place in a digital world. In fact, I tried to recreate it myself on their websites when I got home because I was frustrated and I just wanted to see, could I find it online on Kroger versus Meijer? So at first I went to the Kroger website. Guess what happened? The Kroger website left me at a dead end and I had to reroute myself to a login screen to even see whether they carried the brand I wanted. I considered that to be a complete fail from a digital standpoint because I never did get the answer. I didn't find it in the physical store and I still couldn't find it on their website, and the only way I could find it was if I created an account. And to me that created a really negative experience because it was a roadblock and it stopped me from finding information that I needed. So then I went to Meijer, my old tried and true website, and I found it right away. I could easily get through where I needed to discover where the product was at in the product categories. To me, that was a successful journey. So in the real world, our digital journeys don't just stop at the website, and they include lots of different types of communication methods that we can have. And we as website owners and we as business owners have lots and lots of opportunities to influence how that journey plays out. When we moved into the digital world, we were presented with a host of new challenges. In the physical world, when you walk into a store, as a store owner or as a worker in the store, you can get immediate feedback from the person in front of you and from your consumer or your ultimate customer. You can see their physical reaction and you can read their face and see what their expressions are when you talk to them or when they engage with your store or your product. But we miss that out. We miss out on that in the digital world. We don't have that immediate one-on-one communication, and we lose a lot of invaluable data in that process. The digital world, though, still has lots of opportunities, and while you can't necessarily see someone's expression or their emotion, we do have alternate ways where we can get feedback from them and make sure that we're trying to create a positive experience for them. Google Analytics is a really good way of finding this information. If you have an e-commerce store online, you can see the cart and the person processing through the cart, and you can see abandon rates like I have in the screen showing in my slide. But there's also other data that you can collect from Google Analytics. It's a starting point, but it's limited. But my point I'm making is the fact that while you don't have that physical person in front of you, whether you're you're an e-commerce store, you're a regular website that does lead intake, or you're building up your newsletter list, there's lots and lots of ways that you can collect data from those people that visit your website. And this will help you create a more positive user experience and a more positive journey. So we have to look past emotions and we have to look past visual feedback. We have to look at those alternate sources of data. And you'll be asking yourself, what are those alternate sources of data? But there are lots around you. You have the Google Analytics beyond the shopping cart. You can see what top pages people utilize on your website. You can see their bounce rates and what pages that they exit on. Your website inquiries that you get, whether it's from Gravity Forms or Ninja Forms or some other form of WordPress form, that has a ton of data. Whether you're tracking the last page they visited on your website before they inquired, or you're looking at the selections that they picked on the form, or you're reading the comments that they gave you, that's invaluable information. And I've always tried to use that data to optimize our website further. And from optimize, I mean as both a content and a flow standpoint. If someone tells me that they have not been able to find something on the website in that lead inquiry, I take that to heart and I try to make sure it's easier for them to find it, based on where they were in the website. Your response rates to offers that you give, emails that you send out and who opens it and how often they open it and where they click through, social media shares and likes and comments, customer reviews or user interviews, A/B testing, surveys and polls. There's just so much information that we have now in the digital world that we can take that in and utilize that to create a really good customer journey and a customer experience. How many of you have ever been to IKEA, to an IKEA store? If you're fortunate enough to have one by you, it is an experience. It truly, truly is. We have one in Canton, which is probably about 40 minutes from where I live, but it's definitely worth me going to. And I like IKEA because it's a really good example of a physical journey, right? When you walk into the store, IKEA gives you a number of signs and signals and indicators on how you can progress through the store. And they even map it out so that your movement is very fluid and you're going from one section of the store to another. And they really help you find the desired product, and they group them together. So, you know, kitchen stuff is by kitchen stuff, and they give top sellers out and for display, but also so you can pick them up and grab them right where you're at when you're looking at this display. They give you roadmaps to get through the store, even down to the restaurant where you can get Swedish meatballs and cinnamon buns. And should you start to feel overwhelmed, they have random doors conveniently placed so you can just exit and quickly leave. They also go to the point of having you, the consumer, go and pick your own goods in their warehouse, and they make it really easy for you to do it. They give you shopping carts right before you enter into the warehouse. They've encouraged you along the way when you've been looking at their products to know where your goods are going to be located, and should you get to that warehouse and should you feel like you are overwhelmed and you can't find what you need to find, there's always a computer or there's a person floating around that's easily just, you can reach out, grab them, and get additional assistance. I love that about IKEA because I think that they have mastered the art of the physical customer journey through their store. When you get home with their furniture and you need to build it, which I've built out many of IKEA furniture. I've even built out IKEA furniture with two Polish au pairs who are like nannies, and trying to do that with two girls who barely speak English is an adventure. But guess what? We could do it because the IKEA instructions were visual, and they used less text and they used a lot of visual cues, again, to take me through that journey of that furniture creation. And should I get lost along the way, again, I've got help. They've got a phone number that you can call to get assistance. Now, that's the physical world of IKEA. When you walk into the digital world of IKEA, they still have a really, really good presence, and their website is easy to navigate. In fact, I just ordered a few things off their website because I had to replace something that I had bought from them previous, and it was very easy for me to do so. I could quickly find what I wanted. I could see the colors. Just like on my physical experience with IKEA, my digital experience was just as positive. Website design isn't just about headers and footers and sidebars. Good design is about asking the right questions and making sure those questions apply to your website visitor. It's about finding solutions to your visitor's problems and presenting these solutions in a cohesive design. It's about mapping that journey. And you think about that journey I took through IKEA. It's about mapping that same journey on the website and creating clear paths for your visitor to follow. And successful website design isn't about you or me, the creators. It's really about the visitor and how you, the website creator, can help that visitor and how you can give them the right information and help them solve their problems. I like to divide websites based on persona. And whenever we go into a design project with somebody, whether it be an individual or organization, whether small or large, I ask about personas. And a lot of times the buyer of the website doesn't know what a persona is, and they don't even realize that they have them. But when you start to ask them questions, they can quickly see that they do have personas. So if you're not familiar with personas, let me give you some examples. So I tend to compartmentalize things in my life. In fact, I was joking with Corey right before we got on this presentation that Corey's part of my WordPress life, and then my husband is part of my personal life, and I would like the two to meet. To me, that starts to wig me out a little bit because I'm joining my two different types of groups in my life, or groups of people. But that's okay because eventually they two intermingle. But when I'm doing and I'm creating a website with somebody, including our own website, I really try to bucket those types of people up into groups and make sure that I can understand what's driving the issues for each group so I can create nice paths along the way for them. When you're designing a website or even a blog, and you really want to be able to segment out those people if you have them, so you can segment out content and information for them and have those personas defined so you can target them with the right message and the right information. One of the first steps in to be able to document your personas and really figure out who they are is to start asking yourself, the basic elements of those personas. The really basic ones are like gender, age, need, department or professional title, industry, are they business to business or business to consumer? Those are the basic elements, but there's a lot more. You can go even further to start looking at educational level and technical expertise and impairments, whether they have visual impairments or some other type of challenge that they're dealing with. Pain points and needs. A lot of people ask, what the heck is a pain point? A pain point is just simply a problem that your visitor has, and that problem is going to relate to issues they're trying to solve, which can also relate to a solution that you can provide them that's going to solve resolution to those pain points and fix them or resolve and take away their pain points. I like to really dig into those, and I like to find data and do research and do investigation to kind of help me figure out who my personas are or who my clients' personas are. And you might be thinking the fact that you don't have this information, but you do. That information is a lot of it's in your head, a lot of it's in interviews or those inquiries that you've received. All of those pieces of data I talked about earlier, those help you figure out your personas, and it also helps you figure out what their challenges are. If you're a website developer on this and listening into this presentation, your RFPs or your initial inquiries where people say what they'd like to achieve with the new website is a great place to identify their pain points and what are their goals for the website project and what obstacles do they need to get over. And people are going to have obstacles both to purchase from you, whether it be a service project or a product, and then they're going to have obstacles that they need to address in their own business or personal life. The more you can identify what those personas are, and the more you can identify the needs and the wants of your visitors, the greater chance you're going to be able to solve those issues and convert that visit into a sale. There's two kind of groups of what I've listed up on this slide. There's kind of two different groups. Educational level, technical expertise, and impairments are all directly related to the design of the website. They're going to influence what you do with design, from color and font choices to the presentation of the information. Challenges and pain points and needs and goals and purchase obstacles, those all relate to the content and how you're going to present content with verbiage or imagery. Once you've started to identify your personas and you've documented them, and you can next kind of take that list or those groups and those buckets, and now you start to compare that to what a journey would be for them, right? You start looking at your existing website and you determine what you have available that speaks to those personas. What information do you have that can help validate that you're a good solution for them, that you can solve their problems. If you've never done site mapping before, you've never done personas, and you start to do this process, you're going to be a little bit disappointed with yourself because you're going to feel like you don't have a lot to offer. But don't let that stop you. That means you have opportunities for improvement. So go into this activity with a really positive attitude. Know that gaps are going to exist and that these gaps aren't failures on your part. Instead, they're ways that you can improve the website, and you can reduce your bounce rates, and that you can increase your conversions, whether that be a sale or a lead or anything else. Review each section of your website and each type of available content and map this content to a given user persona. If none exists, that's okay. It just means that you might have to create something new. I'm a big advocate of creating one page or one landing page per persona, and then having this page potentially route over to different areas of the website. Here's an example. In my old world, I used to sell ERP software, and I've said that before on other presentations that I've done. That was a really high-end product, right? It was a $100,000 system that you would sell, and we had a lot of our leads in through the internet. You didn't sell to an individual. You sold to a group within the organization that was tasked with finding the software. And so that group would usually involve an IT manager, someone who's very technical. It would include the CFO or the controller, so someone who's very financially focused. It would include the ultimate decision maker, who would be the president or the CEO of the company. And all of those three individuals needed to hear different things. They needed to have information communicated to them in a different manner. Even though we were selling all of them the same product and they would all be using it, we had to convey that information in a different way. So the CEO or the president, he was always concerned with revenue, and he wanted to know about reporting, that he could easily get to reports and have some ad hoc reports available to him and have really nice dashboards to present that sales data. The CFO or the controller was that financial guy. He was focused on cost cutting and month-end closing and compliance issues to make sure he wasn't going to get in trouble with the government or some other authoritative body. The IT manager wanted you to make his life easier. He cared about the quality of your software code and what kind of support you were going to offer him, and that somebody had his back should a disaster occur and his server went down. So they all had different pain points and they all had different challenges, and to be able to sell to them successfully, we had to make sure that we had information on the website available to them and that you could get over to them and find that information. For this industry, if I recall correctly, I think it's Microsoft Dynamics. So this is, the Microsoft we all know and love, or maybe not if you're a Mac user. But so Microsoft has a product called Dynamics, and it's a group of products, and it's the competitor to what I used to sell. They have always been a master of creating user personas. They clearly articulate out and make sure that the CEO, if he's visiting the website, can find his information, the CFO can, and the IT manager can, and then they speak to them in their language to make sure that they understand that the software is going to make their life better and their life easier. And that's really the basics of personas. It's just really figuring out who is coming to your website and how you can truly create that experience for them. Okay, so now when you're doing this and you're taking a step back and you're looking at your website assets and your content that's available, keep a clear and open mind, right? So it's look at both the existing website, your content, but also look at your design and how much of that is going to influence it. Excuse me. When you're reading through the slide, because I don't like to read you every word in the slide, I want you to see a trend here. The trend is your company, your history, your products, your services, your rates, and your promotions. I have that there because the default from people is that they want to always talk about themselves. They want to talk about their company. They use their company name all over the website, their history. They use their product names and they talk about their product names, and they throw in copyright and trademark signals and things like that. They talk about their services, and all of that is great, but the one thing that you're missing is you're forgetting to talk about the customer and what the customer actually needs and wants and how you can help them with their ultimate goals and their objectives. And if you think that I'm being overly dramatic, I'm not. If you go to your Google Search Console, if you're using that was formerly called Webmaster Tools, and you go into that software, there is a place in there that talks about your most commonly used words on your website. Okay, and it's an invaluable screen. I use it with clients a lot because they say, no, we talk about the client. We're focused on the client. We're all about the client. I pull up that screen. I say, really? Let's take a look at this for a minute. And guess what you're going to see? If it was the case of iThemes, it would say iThemes, Sync, Exchange, and it would use all of their product names, Backup Buddy, right? And it wouldn't be talking, and I don't know, I can't remember what is on course, so I'm just picking on him because I can quickly get an example from his website, and you would all be able to relate to it. But those would be the product names and the company names. That would be what most people are going to see in their Search Console because you're talking about you. And that's that country song that talks about, I don't always want to talk about you. Sometimes I like to talk about me, and that's what your website visitor feels. They want to talk about me. They want to talk about themselves. They want you to be able to communicate to them that you understand what their pain points are and that you know how to solve them and that you've got a solution for them. So as you're going through your content audit and you're looking at your website and you're thinking about what you want to change and what you want to add, start asking yourself these questions. Who do you help? Who are they, right? What are their challenges? How do you solve their issues? Why are you an ideal fit for them? And what can they expect from the end of their purchase or their engagement with you or reaching out to you? How can you solve their problems? And you need to update your content to speak in your visitor's language and to speak to your visitor in a conversational manner that they can easily digest. Acknowledge who they are, what they do, what they struggle with, and how you can help them with whatever their pain points are. The more you speak their language and the less you use your own product names, the better off you're going to be and the more conversions you're going to have. I know branding is important, and it's important for people to understand what your language, your product names are, but they're not searching for that. That's the end of the process. The beginning is to build up your authority with them, your credibility with them, and show that you're a true solution offering for them, whether it be product or services. Now, if you've been sitting here and you've been listening to me, you've realized I haven't talked much about the design part, right? I do website design. It's a huge core part of our business, but I haven't talked about it, and we're quite a few slides in. And the reason I haven't talked about graphic design yet, or even selecting a WordPress theme, is because that should really come after you do your persona definition and you define who visits your website, what their needs are, and what you can offer them. And it should come after you do that content audit and you decide what existing content you have to give them and what new content you need to create. And it should come after the site mapping process. It's only when you put design at the end of that process that it can truly be successful and it can truly speak to your visitor and help them convert when they reach your website. I have a lot of people who will send me emails and say, hey, I'm looking at your stock themes. Can you tell me which one would be the best theme for X, Y, and Z? And I reply that I can't tell them. And the reason I can't tell them is because I don't know who visits their website. I don't know who their personas are. I don't know enough about their company or their website or their product or service offering to even begin to make suggestions on design. I don't know what their call to actions are or what the outcome of their traffic is supposed to be. So a simple email with 2 sentences that may give me the name of the company and what they do, that's not enough for me to really tell them what would make a great theme or even a great custom design. It's because it's a process. You need to go through discovery with clients or even yourself to really understand what it is that you need and how it is that you can take the design and really craft it to make a good user experience. Excuse me. As you come through your design and you start now to think about the visitor map and your customer journey, you need to keep in mind that they can start at any device and at any place within your website. The default is to think desktop and the default is to think homepage, but rarely does that really ever occur in today's life. More searches occur on Google on mobile devices than they do on desktops. And while this changes greatly by industry, it still needs to be remembered. If you're doing a great job or even a good job with organic search engine optimization and social media, people aren't always coming into the homepage. They're coming into other areas of the website. And as you map out your customer journey and you think about your sitemap, you need to make sure that you can get people to the right location regardless of their entrance point into the website. And you need to also remember that if you've crafted really good landing pages for your different personas, they're going to come into those pages directly. So make those pages really good, make them really rich and robust for their individual personas and give them paths to other places in the website that can provide them with additional information. And please, oh please, no matter what you do not shove those personas inside of sliders. That is a very big default I always struggle with clients, and I don't even look at sliders anymore. They're like banner ads to me. I have a blindness to them, and I think a lot of people do, and they're becoming more and more obsolete on websites. And people will say, well, no, I have 5 personas, and I want to have a different persona on each slide within our homepage slider. But guess what? Most people aren't going to look at it. And if you're the 5th persona, the chances of them actually seeing it is very, very slim because people have short attention spans, and they want to just get to the homepage and get a good glance that you are a good fit for them potentially, and they want to be routed to new additional information. The slider can't achieve that, so please, oh please don't do that in your design process. So by now, if you're really starting to think introspectively on what your website has or what you can offer to your clients, you may be a little bit stressed out or confused, and that's okay. I'm going to make it a little bit worse with this diagram here. And this diagram shows all of the different paths that people take during the buying process, and that the customer journey isn't just your website. It's everywhere on the internet. Rarely does a website visitor come once to the website and convert right away. They don't. They come and go, and they arrive at different points during the buying cycle. The buying cycle being the first time they've discovered that they need something, to potentially starting to search for it on the internet or research it, to reaching out to you to get some initial information or start comparing products on your website or your services, or even you to other companies. That referral, asking around to see if someone's left any reviews for you online or checking you out on social media. And then finally that direct purchase back to actually buy or convert into a sale on the website. In my old world of ERP software, we had a sales process that was in a sales cycle that was about 9 to 12 months. It's a really long time. Depending on how that lead came in, if it was a cold call through telemarketing, it could take 12 to 15 months to actually get the lead in and close it. If it was an internet-based lead, we had that down to about 3 months. But still, it was a very long process. And if you look at these channels of communication, these various points of impact during the buying cycle, there's a lot of opportunities where we would have to interact with them, or we wouldn't interact with them and they would go find somebody else. Like social media is a great example, or user reviews. If you don't have anything out there available, or your accounts are really stale and old, and they're out looking at various sources and they're checking out social media profiles, that goes against you, right? Because people will feel like you're not active in your company and you're not engaged in your community. Same thing with referrals. If they start to look around and start asking to see if anyone has worked with you, negative experiences or lack of referrals can also go against you. So as you do craft out your website and your design, keep this in mind. I try to have, and I positioned when we did our last redesign, I really made the testimonial page of our website very predominant. It's in the main navigation, and I did that because through Google Analytics, I could tell a lot of people went there. And through my leads, I could tell a lot of people were reading them. They would say, I read the testimonial from XYZ and that really resonated with me, and that's really who we are and what we need. And I just felt after reading that I needed to reach out to you. I have had some cases where people have actually started calling up the people on our referral list, and while I hate that because it just wastes the time of our valuable users, I can't prevent that, because I do have the names on there so that they can see that there are real people. But know that you're not in control of that journey fully. So if it is something important, like you do have really good referrals and reviews and testimonials, you need to position that in front of people so that they can easily get there and they can easily find that information as they come and go during the buying cycle. Here's the magical thing about customer journeys and just journeys in general through life. I would have never expected to be sitting here doing this webinar in front of you, nor would I expected to be speaking at WordCamps, nor did I ever plan on being an entrepreneur and founding a company like I did, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. But that's it's where my journey has taken me, and it's where life has brought me, and both my professional and my business experience has taken me along this path. You get to control your journey, and with website design, you get to influence the journey of those who come and go from your website. So it's very powerful. WordPress gives us a massive amount of flexibility and creativity, and it allows us to control the journeys of millions. Whether you're doing your own website and you're crafting your own website, or you're a developer on this call and you're helping other clients, we have a very large reach that we have, and as such, that's a burden that you hold, that to do a very quality job. And if you're new to, you're a web developer and you're new to personas and documenting those and trying to craft those into sitemaps, do your customers a favor and make sure that you weave that into your process, because I really do think it's important. I really do think it influences the successful journey of both the client and that website, and then just the overall success that your client's going to have with the development of the website. If you're an end user and you've been sitting through this presentation, don't discount the personas and say, well, I don't have time for that, or I don't know what these are. You do. You really do know who your personas are, and somebody in your organization, if you just sit around the table and start talking about it, you will know them, right? Your salespeople, if you have a sales team, they have a host of information available, and while they're typically probably not asked about it, if you set them down and start explaining it to them and asking them questions, they have a lot of information to give. They can pull it from their PowerPoint presentations, their RFPs, their conversations, their CRM notes. There's so much data that they have available to give you to help create and to craft those personas and creating a good customer journey. So take the time to do it. Know that you don't have success on day one. Your personas will change over time as you figure out what they are and as your business evolves. Our personas that we had 6 years ago and the personas I have today are constantly changing. And that's because we diversify our service offering and we expand out who we reached. When we first started the business, we dealt and we served mainly small business. Now we serve everybody from small business to international bloggers all the way to Michigan State University or a publicly held organization that has 300 locations across the country. That's one of the current projects that we're working on. And as my customer base shifts, my personas have to shift. And that means my website has to evolve. So, continue to do introspection and look at your data that you have in Google Analytics and Search Console and your leads that are coming in, and know that the more that you work on your personas and the more that you edit them and evolve them, the greater success that you're going to have. Okay, thank you so much for listening to me today, Corey. I am happy to do some Q&A if people have Q&A. I still have voice left, and I've actually not coughed so much during the presentation, or at least I don't think that I did. So if people have questions, bring them on.
Outstanding. Well, you've been a great trooper, and we so much appreciate you. So if you have questions, post those in the chat room. We're not going to keep Rebecca too long. We want to spare her voice. She needs to probably get back to client work after being sick for a couple of days and being on the phone and doing different stuff. But, okay. Is it possible to find personas without current clients or data in analytics for new business? So what if you're starting your new business and you don't have any clients or information on them? How do you go about finding, or defining a persona for that?
You can do what I did back in my ERP days, which was go look at my competition. So back then, I was the sole marketer, and while my title was Vice President of Marketing, it was me and me and me and me. We didn't have a huge budget, and I didn't have any data, back then, because it's just the company wasn't doing it. They weren't working on marketing. So what I did was I went and looked at my competition. My competition back then was SAP and Microsoft and Oracle, which were all really large companies, and Epicor, and they had, millions of dollars in marketing budgets. So I would look at their websites and see what they were doing and how they were positioning their content and like their white papers and their offerings, and I'd sign up for their emails and just see what they were pushing out in newsletters and communication. I'd follow all of their social media accounts. And that was how I knew that Microsoft and their Dynamics portfolio had the best example of personas. And I would learn from that, right? So I would start to really glean as much as I could from the competition, and then I would document that and say, okay, so if Microsoft has these personas, SAP has these personas, which ones apply to our customer base? And then I would start to look at that now. Then I would look at their data and say, okay, how can I make this better? How can I take this one step further and really start to do a better job at marketing than they were? And that's the way to get started, right? I think I don't want you to steal your competitors' information, because that's just wrong, but you can absolutely learn from them. And then once you start doing personas and you start thinking about personas, it's for me with keywords. You start to see them everywhere, and you start to see that breakout, and it'll become more natural to you.
Good. So the question was asked, how can you have different landing pages based on personas, and how do you know ahead of time who is landing? So I think the approach is,
go ahead. I was going to say, once you start defining your personas, a nice way to have the different landing pages is just simply create one. So like in that Microsoft Dynamics example, if the CFO or the bean counter was a persona and the IT manager was a persona, as soon as you hit their website or their main page for that, they kind of had visuals and verbiage that would allow you to go, oh, that's me, right? Whether you call them out by name or you say something that their major challenge, and then you link that over to a piece of content that gives more information. That's how you do it. It could be industry-based, right? So if you have different industries that you service, one could be education versus government, right? You come into a website homepage or you have an industry section on your website and you call out those industries by verbiage or by imagery and you give them a link to a destination page. That's kind of how you route them through. People will, by nature, want to identify quickly with something they understand. So if you give them an option on the homepage or somewhere else on a predominant page on the website that allows them to relate to themselves, they will see it. They're going to spy it right away and they're going to want to click through and continue on that journey because you've caught them emotionally. You know, you've connected with them emotionally. And it can be call it by name, by the type of persona they are, or the pain point, the main pain point that they struggle with. And that's how you kind of link them over and they'll follow that path.
Gotcha. Okay, if you have more questions for Rebecca, post them in the chat room at iThemeschat.com, and I'll try to make sure we can lift those up to her. And be sure while you're doing that, that you thank Rebecca for coming on this webinar, doing a free webinar for you guys today for WProsper on Twitter at Rebecca Gill, and that'd be awesome. Okay, let me look up here. Somebody asked about, let's see, do you think images give valuable information when visitors navigate through different product categories? So I guess using images in the help sort and find those personas go to the right place.
I do. I think both for products and for services. Like on our website, we have an industry section, and then the industry section, when you go to something that's sports related, you see a sports image. When you go to education, you see a college, right? It's reinforcing that emotional connection with the visitor. I'm not a proponent of throwing images into the website just to have images because you feel the page is boring, right? I never have been a fan of that. However, when you are calling out personas or you're having products that speak to different types of personas, those images are powerful, right? In the example I gave about the CEO versus the CFO and the IT manager, the CFO is the dollar guy. He wants to see things about dollars, right? You got a product that serves him and you're going to give him a graph or a report that shows money. That's important to him. The C-level executive who's responsible for sales, he wants to see sales. He wants to see sales charts and growth. That connects with him. So yes, images can be very, very powerful.
You want things that help them self-identify. This is me. This is me. I think about Home Depot, and you got the main entrance that's more for the do-it-yourselfers, and then you got the contractor's entrance, over toward the left or something. Typically.
Look who's been listening to the persona discussion and just called out two very good personas. Those are excellent personas. You could even break those down further. So you've got the contractor who does this for a business. You've got the experienced DIYer like my husband and myself, and then you've got the newbie DIYer that really has no clue what they're doing, right? I mean, I can go in and pick out a toilet and know exactly what I need because I've been doing this so many times with my husband. But if I didn't, you need to have clues for those newbies to identify themselves as a newbie so you can give them clues along the way and make sure they've got all the products that they need on the website so that they're happy at the end of their journey.
Absolutely. One of the things that we're trying to do with, you mentioned our, iThemes.com, our site, is think through our personas too. And generally speaking, we've had two personas. The do-it-yourselfer, which we call the builders, and the owners, and the freelancers, small agency types who build sites for clients, the builders in that scenario. And we're trying to wade through this too, so this is an appropriate discussion for us. Okay, so Sharon asks, if we're mapping journeys from an entry point, how do you suggest we map that? For example, not from the home page.
So it's going to depend on the website and how many personas you have. On our old website, we only really had, what did we have? We had kind of like 3 personas. So you were going to buy a fully custom website that was higher end. you already had a theme and you needed some customizations, and then you really were the DIYer and you could afford nothing else besides a $50 template. Those were the personas that we had, so I made sure that since there was only 3, that you could see them from any place on the website. They were in the sidebar, and I had little icons to kind of help grab your attention, and they were very effective. When we did the redesign, our website had to evolve with our business, because now our business is multiple industries. And we scale from that $50 template all the way up to the publicly held company that's paying $90,000 for a website. So it becomes a lot more challenging then, right? So when we did that, for me to kind of help break that out, I made industries more prominent, and I put them right on the main navigation to kind of help people figure out where they wanted to be. And then I also, like on our web design page, I broke personas out there too. So like small business and enterprise level, business to business, business consumer, and that's so people could say, oh, I'm business to business, I'm business to consumer. They could do those identifiers. So I gave them different points of information on key landing pages so that they could route themselves through. And like for our website design page, we get a lot of traffic into that page. So that's why I wanted to have personas laid out there, right away, so people could kind of identify themselves and find more information. So the answer, a long-winded answer, is it's going to really depend on how many personas you have and then the makeup of your website, but there's definitely ways to achieve it.
And it's been 8 years now since I've really done consistent client work with web design. But a lot of this seems like, part of the job of the web designer is to make sure we understand that customer or client's business and their customer groups. And I bet you, I'd be willing to bet a lot of the small businesses probably don't really truly understand that as much, or don't know how to clarify that. So I bet
you can help them figure it out, right? So we don't even go into graphic design until we go through discovery with them. They fill out a questionnaire. We ask questions, and sometimes they get really frustrated with that because they just want to jump in. And I say, no, we're not jumping in, because we need to help you understand who it is that's coming to the website and how we can help design to that. And then once you kind of start going through that journey with them and start asking questions, they are a plentiful amount of information that they can give you, and they do have personas.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't know right away, and they're going to tell you no. But don't let that happen. Don't let it dissuade you if you're a website designer. Keep asking questions.
And I guess the part would be to say to them, hey, if I can understand it better, I can help you better. I can align these personas and the journey of the website. That's going to make your website ultimately more profitable, more effective for you.
Absolutely, especially when you start talking about pain points for a given persona and what offering that they have ties to that and what can the person expect at the end. Then they start seeing like, oh, that's so much better text than what I had where I just talked about my features and my functions. They do start to see the light.
Yep. So I want to take a second and spare Rebecca's throat here, but to tell you that we were just talking before the webinar about a couple of webinars topics she wants to put on the calendar and do all the way from April to September. And to give you a brief overview of the things we talked about, content silos and search intent. It's a webinar that Rebecca and I have talked about offering to the W Prosper iThemes community in May. And these are tentative. We haven't scheduled these just yet, but just giving you some ideas of what's to come. They're really focused around SEO. That's one of her hidden core competencies for sure, that when she's talking about personas and website design and everything, one of the great pieces of her experience and expertise is adding the SEO value to client work. So May, on-page optimization techniques; June, off-site SEO factors; July, local SEO, which should be a big one, I think, for a lot of our crowd here who have a lot of local-based clients. They don't necessarily have them spread out all over the world. August, what really matters with technical SEO, and then September, get into e-commerce SEO. So those are going to be good ones. You want to be sure you're on the W Prosper mailing list to be a part of those. But she's graciously offered to come back for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months so to do webinars like this. And I know you'll want to be sure she comes. You come back for those. And then I mentioned in the intro that Rebecca's got an SEO course. She did a free week of SEO training back in December, but her course is complete front to back SEO, how to really understand SEO, and in particular WordPress SEO. I'll put a link to that just in a second in the chat room so you can go check that out. I know, okay, Mark, you asked what was June, and again, these are tentative until we can get her on her schedule, but June would be off-site SEO factors. Really good stuff. You want to come for that. Okay, let me look at, see if there's next question.
So while you're looking at questions, let me add in one thing that I didn't really talk about because you started mentioning SEO. So you can use personas to figure out keywords for SEO. A lot of times people struggle with figuring out what kind of keywords that they could weave into the website or what they could blog about, right? So again, I can go back to, for example, my old world, which is so exciting. It's software and it's about business software. But one of the personas that we sold to was food and beverage. Food and beverage has to deal with recalls. I mean, we all have heard the news reports about a recall with lettuce or something like that, right? That is a pain point. They need to make sure that their software can manage a recall. To do so, they needed to make sure that they had strong lot tracking, and it had to be what was called womb to tomb, so from the farm and all the ingredients all the way to the final product. By defining your personas and by starting to define what their challenges were, and their challenge was recall management, lot control, ingredient tracking, what you're doing is you're giving yourself some keywords, because when people have challenges, they start to look for what their current challenges are way before they decide what they're going to buy, right? They're just saying, I got problems. My software stinks at recall management. What's out there? What can I do to fix this? So by having what those challenges are, you can start using those and feeding those into the Google AdWords tool for SEO to really figure out what potential keywords people are searching for around those challenges, and then you can weave those challenges into blog posts. And those blog posts will drive traffic in, and the beautiful part about that is you're bringing in traffic at the very beginning of the buying cycle, right? Well before someone goes to be able to decide what they're going to buy, you're getting them when they're realizing that they need to buy something. You're building up your authority early on in the process so that they're going to think that you're the only solution. And it's really, really effective with longer sales cycle, like my one where I had 9 months. Highly effective.
Outstanding. Well, okay, I think we have tortured Rebecca enough today. She's always so gracious with her experience and expertise, and I think you see just how deep her experience and expertise with web design are through this presentation. So be sure to sign up to the WProsper email list. I'll ask Sarah if she could put a link to the WProsper link, so you make sure and go sign up for the email there and not miss this. But anyway, I put her Twitter address in the chat room. Go and say thanks online, follow her. She's got always great, rich content coming out. But thank you all for being on the presentation today. And Rebecca, thank you again for coming on and sharing all of this great, gold rush here. So we appreciate you. Feel better.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna sign off. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks.